Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the censorship of my book, Revelations of the Great Spirit. I tried to donate a copy of my book to the Monroe County Public Library in Bloomington, Indiana. And I'd like to tell you a little story about what happened after that. They sent me an email back that said that they rejected my book and would not accept it as a donation. And the reason they did that, they have a policy called the Monroe County Collection Policy. And here's a quote from the policy. Monroe County Public Library strives to collect materials representing different viewpoints. The library recognizes some materials may be considered controversial and may offend some users. Inclusion of questionable language or attitudes in materials is not in itself a reason to exclude them from the collection. Materials shall not be proscribed or removed because of partisan or doctrinal disapproval. Materials which represent only one point of view may be selected to provide necessary alternatives to other material. The existence of a particular viewpoint in the collection is not an endorsement of that particular point of view, but an expression of the library's adherence to the principles of intellectual freedom. So I read this and I really couldn't understand why they refused to accept my book. I did get an email from Pam Wasner that works at the Monroe County Public Library, and she stated that the reason that my book was not accepted was because it had not been reviewed by Publishers Weekly, Kirkus Reviews, or the Library Journal. So I checked with these organizations and found that they are all on the East Coast, far away from Bloomington, Indiana. They're not elected by the taxpayers of Monroe County or Bloomington, Indiana. And yet, whenever the taxpayers pay their money to buy books, they have to be approved by these organizations before they can buy the books. I was not trying to sell my book to the Monroe County Public Library, so this part of the policy should not have applied to me. I further checked and found that these three organizations require that if you want to have your book reviewed by them, you have to submit a manuscript of your book in advance before it gets published. Which I never even heard of these organizations before I published my book, and even if I did, I wouldn't allow some organization to review my book. My publisher reviewed the book before he published it. I would never allow an organization like these to review my book before it got published. It doesn't make sense. At any rate, so after I was informed that my book was refused and censored by the Monroe County Public Library, then I called the Indiana Daily Student where I used to work. That's the college newspaper for Indiana University. And I told them I wanted to run an ad in the paper that said that my book had been censored by the Monroe County Public Library. And they accepted my ad. They sent a copy of it back, showed me what it was going to look like. They quoted a price. And then, before I could even answer their email, they sent me another email back, and they said, you can't use the word censored in your ad. You have to change it to rejected instead of censored. Now, it seems to me that the people of Monroe County that use the Monroe County Public Library are being denied the opportunity to choose my book when they go to the library to use it, and therefore that's censorship. A bureaucrat has made a decision that censors the right of the public to read my book. Not everybody that goes to a library has enough money to buy books, especially strange books they've never seen before. But anyway, the Indiana Daily Student refused to run my ad because it said, used the word censored. They wanted to change it. So I did not run an ad. In other words, they censored my ad. I cannot use the word censor in my ad because the word censor is censored by the Indiana Daily Student. So now we have a situation where the word censor is being censored. So I rest my case.